everybody, it's Femtrooper, and today I'm going to be talking about how to actually tackle your backlog. So, I know that most of us who play games have a ton of games we haven't played, or we have games on the go that we haven't played, and we're just looking for ways to actually figure it out. How do we actually get through all of these games? Well, today I'm going to be talking about how I went from, beating a couple games a year to almost 20. So, yeah, I realize some people play like 50 or 60 games a year or more, and so 20 games or 15 games a year isn't that much. But I still think a lot of these tips are pretty good, and I wanted to share them because it might actually help you get through more games than you think. If you're curious what the inspiration for this video is, it's basically whenever I see, this is me, whenever I see YouTubers post pickups videos and they will hold up a bunch of games. It's usually more like a collection video. They'll be like, here's all my PS4 games. And then they'll be like, haven't played this yet, haven't played this yet, haven't played this yet, and they're still getting to it. And I think, man, that's so lame. Because I know I used to do that. I would pick up stuff just for videos. And so now I have, a ton of 3DS games I've never played, or I have DS games I've never played. But I've been really good with modern consoles to try and only buy stuff that I'm actually going to play. And so that is what we're going to talk about today, on just how to actually get through your backlog, how to actually play your games so that you don't just look at your shelf and it's just a bunch of random cases you've never even experienced. Instead, you can look at your shelf and be like, hey, I have great memories with all of these, and I've actually played them. They're not just meaningless cases. So let's get to my tip number 1, which is to actually plan ahead. Make a list of all the games that you want to play, and then try and stick to it. So a good way to do this is at the start of the year, so like January 1st or something, pick like 5 or 6 games that you think, yeah, I really want to play these games. And you think, okay, like I have the whole year to do it. Let's pick a bunch of games that I want to actually play and then keep track of it. So I'll do that with like an Instagram post, and I'll post like 6 or 7 or 8 games that I think I'm going to actually play these this year. And then at the end of the year, it's fun to look back and be like, how many of those games did I actually get to? Because yes, one thing to factor in is that throughout the year, you're going to see a bunch of new releases, lots you didn't even know were going to come out, or unexpected fun stuff that comes out, and just new releases come out and you want to play them. So yes, factor that in. So pick like 5 games you think, I want to really tackle these, knowing like you're going to pick up like, I don't know, you're going to, or you're going to beat or play like 6 new games this year. Whatever that is for you. Maybe it's 20 games. It doesn't matter, but pick a list and try really hard to stick to it. That way, when you finish a game, you can look at your list and be like, okay, what's next? Well, I really wanted to play that. It really helps because a lot of us have these collections behind us that are overwhelming. That way you can kind of be like, okay, I'm going to actually stick to this and try and make it varied. Like, if you like 4 different genres, for instance, like pick a couple, like pick some JRPGs, pick some platformers, pick an action game, and then that way you're covered and then you always know what to play. It's a really good base, and yeah, I don't stick to it all the time. I realize that, but it's a really good way to try and like just keep yourself grounded and stick to it. It's just helpful. The next one is tough. But trust me, I think it's the best tip I have on my list. So tip number 2 is playing 1 game at a time. I have talked to so many people and they have like 7 games on the go and they beat like one of them, or it takes them like 3 years. I'm like, dude, just 1 game at a time. It's kind of like if you're watching like a bunch of movies and then you hit pause 20 minutes in and start up another movie. Like nobody does that. So just stick to 1 game at a time. You can have your rules. I do 1 handheld, 1 console game at a time. So I can have 2 games going, but that's it. Like I play like a PS4 game, for instance, and I can have like a Vita game going or something. So I have that option. So, you can have 2 things. You can do your own thing. Obviously make up your own rules, but that's how I do it. I don't break my rules. And yes, you can play games like Mario Kart or Mario Party or random casual games. Obviously, I don't count those because they're not games I'm looking to beat. So if me and my husband want to play like Mario Kart, then yeah, sure, go play Mario Kart. But stick to 1 game at a time because trust me, you're going to finish way more games that way. Thirdly, let's talk about my next tip. Have a schedule. Have a schedule. If you're just randomly playing games and you do all sorts of things all over the place, then it's going to take a long time to beat a game. You're going to get through stuff very slowly. So the reason I know this is because before I had a kid, I kind of just did whatever I wanted. We'd go to the movies, I'd watch a TV show, and then I'd play a game or whatever, and then I didn't really beat that many games. Now I'm like so hardcore about playing my games, for not a set amount of time, but I have a limited amount of time to play games, and I kind of stick to it. So I found that by doing that and being like, this is my game time or whatever, I actually get through games way faster. So if you have a schedule, I realize this is not like some university course, it's just playing video games. But if you have a schedule, it's no different than if you want to get through a bunch of books or you really want to get through a TV show. Whatever it is that you want to do, if you are a little bit more disciplined and you have a schedule, you're going to get through it. The next one is pretty crazy, but hear me out. Only buy games you're going to play. I know that's crazy. I know it's outrageous. Oh my God. But seriously, do yourself a favor and only buy games you are actually going to play. Now that might sound weird to some people, but like for example, when I used to do a lot of pickups videos, and I was maybe not as well versed as a gamer as I am now, I bought so many games because I heard things and I was like, that's gonna be great, and then I just accumulated all these games and then realized I don't know if that's really for me. So now I only buy games 100% I am going to play. Maybe that means I won't get to it for 6 months, whatever, but it is 100% something I want to and will play. If you're just buying games because they're hype or because, I don't know, whatever, no, don't do that, because you'll find that they will just collect dust on your shelf. You're never going to play it. It's just something you're going to get to one day, and it's just, I don't know, just a really bad idea. Only buy the games you're actually going to play. I know it's crazy, but please, my next tip is don't impulse buy. Just buy games when you're actually going to play them. Now, you can break the rule here on there's a few exceptions. Something like if it's being released on limited run. Well, obviously you can't wait around. You really want to get that, or else you're going to find it for $300 somewhere on eBay later. So I get it. There's a few games that if you're not 100% sure, or you maybe you'll get to it next year, but you need to actually buy it now, or else you won't be able to buy it. That's fair. Unless you're a digital only person, then whatever. But if you want that physical and it's going to be rare, sure. There's also a few titles that, well, they're not limited run or strictly limited or whatever, they might actually get really hard to find. Like, I know a lot of people have issues finding like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, for instance, because it just seems to be kind of rare, or if you do find it, it's like $100. So sure, like there's a few exceptions, like, like I have Blue Reflection. That got really hard to find, so buying a physical copy was a good idea. But if you're also doing that with a million games, I mean, is it worth it? I don't know. That's up to you if you're a collector or whatever. So that's something you can have a personal conversation with yourself. But for me, I just buy games that I'm actually going to play. I'm not impulse buying anymore. If, like, for example, the new Kirby just came out. If you're not actually going to play that, say till you think, oh, I'll get to it in August, then just buy it in August. It's Kirby. You're going to find it everywhere. It's going to be everywhere. You will never have an issue finding a game like that. So if it's a big AAA title, what is the rush? Do you really need to rush out and get Grand Theft Auto? Unless you're going to play it tonight, sure. But there's a lot of games that I just feel like, you're never going to have an issue finding it, so don't worry about it. Just wait. My last tip is kind of a weird one, but I think it's a kind of a cool one. So let's just go for it here. Make a bunch of games that you want gifts for like special occasions. So I'll give you an example. When it hits fall, any game that usually has like a November or December release, which there are usually a ton of because, they want to sell games at Christmas time, I will ask for those games for Christmas. I don't just run out and buy them because I'm probably not going to play them. I'm probably playing something else, so it's just going to sit. And that way I can kind of like, I don't buy anything, and yeah, I'm going to get a bunch of stuff at Christmas, but it kind of helps because you're not accumulating stuff while you're playing something else, and I kind of plan on it. So like for instance, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond came out last year and I really wanted it, and yeah, sure, I could have ran out and bought it the day of, something that's obviously not going to be hard to find, so no need to do that. I wasn't playing it yet, and I made it sort of my Christmas vacation game, and I got it for Christmas, and then it works out really well. Same thing with my birthday. My birthday's in February, so if a game comes out in January or February, then I usually ask for it for my birthday. That way I get all of January and February to work through older stuff or stuff that I got for Christmas and then get to it. If you're just rushing out buying stuff all the time, your gaming collection is going to accumulate and you're never ever going to, you're just always going to be drowning. It's stupid. So just don't do that. I know, says the person who has a million games behind them. Yes, I'm pretty good about it. And while I still do buy a lot of games and I don't get to them all the time, I'm not perfect. I'm human. I try really hard, especially with anything new, like new systems like PS4. I know PS4 is not really new anymore, but whatever. Modern day consoles, like my PlayStation 4 and the Switch, for instance. I only buy games that I'm actually going to play, because what is the point? It's just going to sit there and then it's dumb. Like I have games for my 3DS that I bought because a bunch of friends were playing at the time, but it's really not my thing. I don't know why I bought it, and I feel like that's dumb because realistically I probably won't play it. So I actually have traded in various things over the years because it's like so useless for me to have. I just buy what I'm actually going to play. I know I'm repeating myself over and over, but it's a really good motto. It's a really good motto to have as a gamer who has a big backlog. So those are my tips. I hope some of them helped you. I don't know if you want to stick to any of my rules or tips, but they really help because I play so many games now. For me, like last year I beat 17 games and the year before I beat 18 games, and I was really stoked on that. Like that's a lot. I know some people are going to be like, who cares? I beat 100. Okay, well, whatever. For me, like 18 games is a lot to beat at once, like in a year. That's a lot of games. So, and it's only because I've been following these rules. So if you do that and you stick to one game at a time, you can do it. And like break it up. Like for instance, after I beat Persona 5 Royal, which was very long, and yes, I was very serious. I stuck to only one console game. When I played something, you know, hooked up to a TV, it was only that. And yeah, it took like 4 months, but I beat it. And that game is long. That game is, if you're playing other games with it, that's gonna take you like 3 years. So just stick to one game and then give yourself a break. If you have a really long JRPG, you know, play a platformer after. Like go from playing like Persona 5 Royal to Kirby and then break it up. I mean, that's up to you how you want to do that, but I like to do it sometimes where it's like, oh, I just beat a really long JRPG. Like I had just beat 2 JRPGs recently. I just beat Yakuza Like a Dragon, and then I also beat Pokemon Legends Arceus, and then I played Kirby, and it was kind of refreshing to beat like a 10-hour game, and you know, it was kind of nice. And now I'm back to playing a JRPG again. But it's nice to get that break, and then you can also get through more games because, you know, that's a shorter game. If you're only playing games that are like 100 hours, well, I mean, that's going to be tough, but up to you, right? Like I still play a lot of really long games, but I get through it because I am disciplined and I try really hard to honestly just play what I have and buy new releases if I'm honestly going to play them. If you're not, there's no rush. So many of these games are available forever. You are never going to have an issue finding them. So, I realize there are exceptions, but it just feels nice. I will be honest, it feels nice to go through my collection and I can look at them, look at all the spines, and just sit and go, and you know, great memories with that one, great memories with that one. It's awesome. It's such a good way to do it. Instead of looking at your collection being like, well, 80% of it I've never played because I just buy random crap. Don't do that. There's no point. I know there is that amazing rush of buying something. I realize I just love commercialism. Sorry. I love the feeling of getting a new game and posting it on Instagram and being like, check out my pickups. It's fun. I get it. But at the same time, then you have this collection that you're like, oh, I'm a gamer, but I play none of my games. That's kind of lame to me. Just a personal opinion. It feels so nice to look at my collection and be like, I've played all of these and it feels awesome because they were all great. And yeah, I don't keep games I don't like either, which is also handy because you can trade in and, you know, get something else that you do want or whatever it is that you do with the game. But yeah, hopefully this helps somebody. If you have any backlog tips and you are getting through that backlog and you're like, hey, well, you know what? I do this and it really helps. Share them. Please let me know, because I find that all the things I've just mentioned have really helped me in the last like 2-3 years to actually like play a ton of games. And I'm feeling so great about it because it's like I check off like this list and it just feels fantastic. So please let me know. I love playing games, and the satisfaction of beating a game is probably my favorite thing. Seeing the end credits, it's, man, it is the best. So I know that some people play games that don't necessarily have ends, and, you know, you can play Animal Crossing for like 5 years. Like, sure, that's fair. That's a little different. But in terms of games that like have, you know, A to Z, you get, you know, go through a story, or you beat it you beat the game, then yeah, I mean, it feels great to do so. I really hope you guys like this video, and I will see you guys next time.